everybody, Erica here, and I'm going to run through each of our Fable Friends projects and show you how to color each of these adorable little critters, as well as give you a few tips along the way. We're going to start with the little treat box that features the squirrel. He is just so cute. I'm going to use crumb cake and balmy blue. I'm going to start with his jacket because when I originally colored this, I got a little crazy and the parts that I wanted to stay white did not stay very white. So I'm going to start with the bullet tip of my very lightest balmy blue, and I'm going to just very carefully kind of tap, tap, tap there. It's a very, very small area there. And I want to leave the little cuffs on his jacket white, as well as the little the little collar, the bib that he has on the back of it. Now, very carefully with my dark balmy blue, I'm going to go along that seam of his arm over there and over here, and just right under that bib to add a little more dimension. That will give just a little bit of a shadow there. And then I'm going to go back with my light and just kind of blend it all in. Okay, now that we've got that, let's get our light crumb cake and do his face first. I'm going to start with the light and just do a really light coat of ink all over his face. And I'm going to leave his hat mostly white as well. It's like a little sailor hat. Now I'm going to use my darker crumb cake, and I prefer the bullet tip of my Stampin' Blend. You might prefer the other end, the brush tip. Give it a try and see which one you like the best. Now I'm going to go back with my light and just kind of pull all that color towards the middle. Now there's a little tiny V right there under his chin that you want to color in. That's his neck. All right, now let's come back over with the balmy blue, and I'm just going to do the light and just very lightly kind of tapping as I go my ink there, just that top part of his hat. All right, now still being a little nervous about getting that brown on his white sleeves, I'm going to come over here very carefully and go around his arms and put a full coat of light crumb cake here. And then I'm going to come back with my dark and again very, very carefully go around. We want to create a shadow where his arms are and where that stem is, and then where you see these little hash marks really would be darker as well. And everything on the bottom will be dark because his body is creating a shadow. His leg in the back would be dark. Now I'm going to come back and pull that dark color towards the center of his leg or his hip there, kind of blend it together and do the same thing over here. Now, except for right here around that back part of his little shirt, we are home free. We don't have to worry about blending all that color and it going too close to the white. One thing to remember with your Stampin' Blends is that the more ink you put on your paper, the more saturated it becomes, and it eventually doesn't have anywhere to go but out. So don't put too many layers, and I kind of like to kind of tap. I'm not taking my marker and holding it down and coloring. I'm just kind of flicking it as I go. I've put some more dark down here at the bottom, and we want the top of his tail to be a little bit lighter. Now one more time, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of the dark because it would be mostly dark down here and around the bottom. And again, just pull that color out. Be careful of his little white sailor bib. All right, now I've got to come back and do his hands, and they're so small. I'm just going to do my light crumb cake there. Okay, now we can fill in the center of the sunflower with dark crumb cake. And we're going to get our light Daffodil Delight and color in these petals. Now, one word of caution, you should have stamped this in Memento Black. Memento Black is the color of ink that Stampin' Up! Recommends that we use with our Stampin' Blends. And for the most part, it is perfect. The only time I find I have a little bit of an issue, I'm going to take my dark here and just kind of put some color there, is when I do my yellows. The ink will bleed just a little bit. Now I'm going to take my light and pull it out. The ink will bleed a little bit into the yellows if you try to color it right after you've stamped it. So the workaround, which is what I've done here, I stamped it about 20 minutes ago and just let it sit. The other workaround is to use your heat tool and just hit it with a heat tool for about 10 seconds to set that ink, and then it will not bleed at all. So if you run into any problems with your ink bleeding into either the Daffodil Delight or also the petal pink that we're going to use in just a little bit, just make sure that you give that Memento ink some time to dry. All right, now I've just used my light Old Olive there, and he looks pretty good. Isn't he adorable? I didn't add a sentiment to this project. I really wanted him to be the focus, but you could always put something kind of off to the side on another layer if you really wanted. One thing also that I didn't do is I didn't give him, he's kind of floating around in white space. And my mom, who is a professional artist, told me that you need to have some kind of line here to ground him. So if you use your light crumb cake, or what I really prefer is smoky slate, just to kind of give him a little bit of a shadow there to show that he's standing on the ground. Okay, all right, so there's our cute little squirrel. Let's look at our rabbit. We're doing the rabbit. I used him the most because these are Easter projects, and you're gonna use him 3 different times. The first one we're gonna use just in the traditional sense. We're gonna color him. We're gonna bring out our light. I have my lids mixed up, it looks like. Let me get those back in the right spot. You're gonna take your light crumb cake. Let me make sure I have the right one. Nope, that's dark. Okay, take your light, and you're going to just color him kind of like we did the squirrel. We're gonna start with his face. Give him a nice full coating of light crumb cake. I'm gonna go up his ears, but leave that inside for the pink that we'll use in a minute. All right, so now before you move on, go with your dark crumb cake and go around here the bottom of his face, and you can even do right here by his ears, and pull that color to the center like that, because his nose will be sticking out and it'll be lighter than the back sides of his down here, the bottoms of his chin. All right, let's do his cute little arms, light crumb cake. And then down here, I am going to first do crumb cake on the sides like this. Then I'm just very lightly going to do a layer of crumb cake down like that, not all the way. Now I'm going to do my dark crumb cake, and I'm going to go around underneath his belly, just a little bit there, but all the way around like that. And the top of his foot would be dark. Now I'm going to come back and blend all that in, and I'm going to also pull this color down some more. Each time I'm adding color, I'm adding a layer, which is going to make it darker. So now I'm just going to take my brush tip and just leave that very light down there. And I might have even put too much, but we can add a little more dark to it to give it that dimension and shadow. Each time you add the dark, you go back with your light and blend it in. All right, looks pretty good. Now for his shirt, I stuck with the balmy blue. I chose all of these colors to coordinate with our Gingham Gala Designer Series paper that you'll find in your kit. These colors are fun and springy and have just been super popular since they came out. And I just thought they were perfect for an Easter class. All right, a full coating of light. Now I'm going to take my dark, and again, we're going to add some shadow underneath his chin and down here where the crook of his arm is, but then also right here, there would be a shadow underneath his elbows. All right, so now go back with your light and blend all that in like that. Oh, it just looks beautiful. All right, now for his ears, I am using Petal Pink. Now, Petal Pink is a very light color, so you'll want to play around with it and see which one you like best. This is the light, and I think that's perfect. It's more of like a flesh tone color than it really is a pink. Now I'm going to take my dark daffodil and color in those buttons. Be careful when you're coloring. It's very hard to not color those buttons when you're coloring with the blues. All right, now you're going to fussy cut this guy. I just want to show you, it's very easy. You're going to mount this onto another piece of Whisper White, so you don't really need to worry too much about it. Just go around leaving kind of a white cloud, a white outline around him, and you'll notice, look, I'm even cutting off his whiskers, because when you look at him when he's cut out, they still look just fine. They're not as long as they were, but they look completely normal. So you don't need to worry about cutting around those whiskers. Just kind of go on the outside like that, leaving this little cloud, this little border around him. All right, let's cut that off. So now what you'll do is on your stitched rectangle, you're going to use your old olive and just doing some flicking with the light and the dark. Now here's a caveat. I didn't notice that there was a grass stamp in our set until after I had done that. So if you don't want to do this kind of grass like that, you can use that stamp, or you can use a combination of the two. But I just took my blend and just flicked to give him a little spot to sit on. And see, look, his whiskers look totally normal, right? Okay, so that's the first little Peter Rabbit that we are going to do. Now the second one is this little jelly bean cracker is what I'm calling it. And look, we're just doing his head. I know it feels a little weird to only color his head and to cut it off, but doesn't it look so cute right there? So cute. All right, so that's what the second one is for. You're going to just do the head, color it the same ways, cut it out, and put it on your pretty label. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to take a second to show you how to put this box together, because it is a little bit tricky to explain in words. All right, let's move on to the goose. This little project opens like this. It slides out, and this little thing just can slide back in. I filled one of our 2x8 cello bags with those delicious little Cadbury eggs, and I taped it on the back, and I have paper pieced our goose. So I have stamped it twice. Let's see, I'm going to close up my blends. I leave them open while I'm coloring so that it's easy to switch back and forth, but we don't want to leave them open forever because they will dry out quickly. All right, so we're going to paper piece our goose. You can see that I have stamped him in the Grapefruit Grove as well as on Whisper White. So the only things really that we need to color in is his beak and his feet and his ribbon. And we don't have a Grapefruit Grove blend. And the thing that I have found that is the closest is Calypso Coral. And it's an orange, it's orangey, so that's what I'm gonna use here for his beak. And I am not going to get fancy or serious with any shading. I'm just gonna color it in using just little flicks of my marker. All right, so do that. And then, and you know, if you want to color it yellow or whatever, you can do whatever color you want. Remember guys, this is your project and it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. I did kind of struggle a little bit deciding on colors for these guys. All right, now for the little collar, he has like a little, what do you call that? I can't think of it. A little, oh, cape. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. A little tie-around sweater that is simply adorable. But I'm just going to color right here. I'm just going to color the little collar and the ribbon, okay? Because now we're going to cut out from here because we want it to be this print. So get your sharpest little scissors, and you want little scissors, that will help. And just cut right along the outside of the black line. I love to fussy cut. If you haven't taken a class from me before or watched any of my Facebook Fridays, you may not know that about me. And if you don't like to fussy cut, guys, then just color it in. Don't feel like because the tutorial says this is what you have to do that you can't change it. All right, see that? And you're gonna just glue it right there. Isn't he just stinking cute? All right, now there's also this piece right here. You see that? We've got to come in here, and it's a smaller piece, so you're going to want to just go very slow. It's always good to cut off any extra paper. It helps you to kind of stay in those lines that you want to stay in. All right, and I would recommend the fine tip glue pen here, or your Tombow if you have Tombow. All right, so there's those. You would glue those on. And another thing I recommend is once you put the Tombow glue on there, get a clear block and set it on there so that it'll dry flat. That's what I always do. I have a giant clear block that I use for that specifically. I actually only use it. It's one of the biggest clear blocks because I use my Stamparatus for those background stamps. And so I just use my giant clear block for that. It's got adhesive all over it, and I don't have to worry about putting something on there like a book that's going to get adhesive on it because the clear block will just clean up. All right, so we're doing the last part, the little hat, and it's going to go right there. And there he is. You're going to give him some time to dry, and then you're going to fussy cut the whole thing out. All right, and then you're going to, I put him so he's kind of crossed over this window. The cello on the window, guys, is actually the bag. There's no cellophane on the window, but you're going to kind of glue him so he's kind of going across the bag. And I put Glad We're Friends. The sentiments in this set really can be interchanged. Happy Spring, Easter Greetings, Darling Baby. This would be an adorable party favor. If you're having a baby shower, you could just put Darling Baby across there. So don't feel like it has to be know exactly what I've done. Okay, little goose, we're gonna move you out of the way. Let's move on to the baby ducks. Aren't they adorable? Inside this is just a little tea bag. This makes a great treat for friends who are trying to watch their sugar intake. You can just get a fun tea from the grocery store and slide it in there, and you can write your note here. Again, change that sentiment out if you feel like that's not the one you want. Okay, so these little chicks are going to be yellow. So I'm going to start with my Daffodil Delight. And we'll start with light, just like we have. I prefer to always start with my light colors. Some people do the opposite. They add in the shading, the dark colors first, and then they go back and add the light on top. But I've just kind of always preferred to add in the light color first. All right, so I took that dark and I went under these little feathers and around underneath his little jacket. And on his neck, I'm going to pull that color up just a little bit. We want the top of his head to be dark. This little guy, now these are so tiny that you really don't necessarily need to do any shading. It's very difficult to start to try to add lots of details in when you are doing small images. But if you want, I'm going to show you just where I would put the shading underneath the little jacket and on the neck. And then this one, even there would be a shadow cast from her little bonnet. And then take your light and pull those colors down so that they are blending together. All right, last one, the little brother, he's tagging along at the end. He doesn't have a fancy hat. He's probably griping that they're walking too fast. Oh, he's cute. This is such a whimsical little set. I just was very pleased when I saw it in the catalog. It's really just fun and kind of takes you back to the old little storybooks that we used to read when we were kids. Okay, so I think I've got all my yellows done. I'm going to close those up. And now really the sky's the limit, whatever you want to do. This is Lemon Lime Twist, the color of the DSP, and we don't have Lemon Lime Twist. Oops, am I using dark? I am. Don't do that. Just do your light. And if you do that, you guys, we have a color lifter that you can use. It's not 100% foolproof and it won't completely take all the color off, but it does help remove some of that color if you get too much on there. But what I was saying is we don't have a Lemon Lime Twist Stampin' Blend, so I just didn't go with any greens. I'm using these other colors that are in the DSP pack. The Bashful Blue, the Calypso Coral, which is close to Grapefruit Grove. And look what I forgot right there. And I just accidentally colored over it with a little bit with blue. I did not do their little wings. So don't forget. That would be a good place to use that color lifter. All right, next little ducky, she's going to get Calypso Coral. And I'm going to just use the light. The Calypso Coral Dark is very dark, so use it sparingly because it will kind of take over your project if you try to color in with it. And I'm going to go underneath here a little bit, just a little bit dotting that to just give it a tiny, tiny bit of variation in color. Okay, and you know what, while I have the light out, let's go ahead and do their little beaks. You can use pumpkin pie if you have pumpkin pie. I just stuck with the Calypso Coral because it coordinated with that other paper, and I try when I create these classes to keep the supply list somewhat reasonable. I didn't want you to feel like you needed to have 100 different colors to make these cute little guys. All right, last, the Highland Heather. Let's see, we need the light Highland Heather, which is going to go right here. And again, this one is so tiny. I'm not even going to give it any, well, I guess maybe I could go just a little bit on the front, a little dot, 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 dot here on the front, so it's a little bit darker. All right, and we could add in that line, remember. Let's try this one. Let's see what this little line looks like as a grounding shadow line. That would work too. There we go. Now they're not floating in space. Okay, cute, cute. We're down to, I think, our last one before I show you that cracker. This one, you get a break. No coloring. And this is designed in with... if you needed to make, like, say 30 Easter treats, this would be a good one because there's no coloring involved. 2 little Hershey nuggets wrapped in 1x3 designer series paper. I love doing that. I'm sure you guys have made nugget projects before, but you just fold these up. I put adhesive down here, a little strip of tear and tape, and laid them on. And we're just going to make a very, very simple tag. And even though this one is the simplest of all of them, I think it's actually my favorite. So take your little Peter Rabbit in crumb cake and stamp it off first on scratch paper and then stamp him over here. That way he's light. See how dark he would be if we did it dark? You could even do it again on another one and see how even, it's probably even better the lighter it is. That way we can overlap these two, the greeting sentiment in Highland Heather, and it's not too crazy busy. Okay, so cute. And then all you do is you add your little flower and a little pearl. Wouldn't those be cute for Easter? Set those out at everybody's seat, or maybe you're going to hand them out at Sunday school or something. I just think those are adorable. Okay, the last one I'm going to show you is the cracker. I don't know what else to call it, you guys. It's like those crackers that you crack in half. I've never done those. I just know that's what they're called. And I kind of played around with an idea that I saw on Pinterest. And so that's what it is. My idea is to fill it with jelly beans or a loose candy. And it would be fun for kids because they, shake it around. So what you're going to do, it's 6 by 6 straight out of the package. You're going to score the first side at 1 3/8, 2 3/4. I don't want to tell you 4 and I can't remember, but it's in the PDF. So you score it 4 times, and these 4 are equal distance. And then the last one you have a 1/2 inch. I want you to notice that because that's important. Okay. So that's the first side. Then you turn it and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, and then 5 1/2, and I believe this is 4 1/2. Make sure you look at the PDF. Okay. Now we're going to turn it back over here. This is that first side that we scored with a 1/2. It has that 1/2 inch here. Here's another very important thing. You want to, this piece has candy on it already, it looks like. I don't know. Make sure that you have burnished all those lines really, really well, okay? Because it's going to take a little bit of finagling to get those sides to pop out like that. All right, so take your tear and tape, and I highly recommend tear and tape for this, especially if you're going to put something like jelly beans in it. It's going to be a little bit heavy, and we don't want it cracking open before it's supposed to be cracked open, right? All right, so remember, here we are. First side that we've scored, here's our 1/2 inch. We're going to take this, and we're going to fold it over. Look, it should meet up perfectly, and there you have this tube. Now, come over to the side, one end, and you're going to push out. Wait, let's see. Let me make sure. Yep, push out the ends like this. However, this part needs to be pushed in. Oh, and mine is torn. Okay, but imagine that this is pushed in like that. You might need to get a ruler or a bone folder and just kind of pop those sides where they need to be, okay? So then put your liquid adhesive right there and adhere it. Now go to your other side and do the same thing. You're gonna have to do a little bit of finagling because the paper is not gonna wanna do this. Right here, this edge right here is what's gonna need some finagling. All right, so what I would recommend, actually, don't adhere this until you've got both sides in compliance. They're doing what they need to do, because you might need to go back and do a little bit of this over here. And then when you get to this one, I wish it wasn't torn so you could see how it looks like that. Isn't that just so stinking cute? Once you get one, you'll realize exactly how they are to go. And the first one will be a little bit tough, but then after that, when you make more, it will go a little bit easier. Okay, so there's that, the cracker. Here it is. You can do the big gingham or the small gingham, and you're just going to layer up. This one's pretty fast and easy too, because all you're doing is coloring the little head, layering it up, and adding a bow with this beautiful flax ribbon. Now, one thing I will tell you guys, as I'm planning this class for you, it is currently February 2019, and there are lots of Stampin' Up! Things that are on low inventory and on back order. But my plan is for you all to receive this beautiful ribbon here, some of this ribbon to go with your class. This is the celebration ribbon. You can see right here, 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 and let's see, I didn't use it on this one, but we'll pull them all over. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed to see what Stampin' Up! The warehouse can keep in stock for me by the time the class is closed, hopefully. the paper, the flax ribbon, and the gorgeous, here it is, gorgeous organdy ribbon will be in stock. Otherwise, we might have to tweak a few things in your kits, but fingers crossed, prayers said that we will have everything perfect. Thank you guys so much for trusting me to send this really fun Easter class. I think your kids are going to love it. Your family members are going to love it. And I think you'll continue to be able to use these images even throughout the year just for baby gifts. And I hope that you enjoy using these blends. And I hope that you feel like you are now prepared to color your cute critters. You guys, remember, don't share this video. It's exclusive to only those who have bought either the class or the PDF. So please, please do not share this video or pin it on Pinterest, because that way people can have access to it as well. You paid for it, so it's exclusive for you. If you have questions, please shoot me an email at erica@pinkbuckaroo.com and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you so much, everybody, and happy Easter. Bye-bye.